This week in games, we talk about the Cenat fiasco in New York City. The Nintendo Switch is getting a new console next year. Jedi Survivor is coming to last generation consoles, and there's a remake for Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion on the way. All this and more on the Two Penny Gamescast. What's poppin', players? Welcome back to the Two Penny Gamescast, episode 159. I am your host, Tavin Bothel, here with my good friend and co-host. Say hello to the people, Connor Elliott.
How are you doing, News Devours?
News Devours, indeed. Connor, how's your week been, my friend?
It's been hectic, but it has been manageable.
Okay. All right. Well, good.
I had
good to
Baldur's
hear.
Gate 3 come out, so I've been able to touch on that. Hopefully, be able to play more this week, and I'm having my fun with that game.
Well, that's certainly. Does that game have multiplayer?
It does. That's one of the. I'm playing a single player campaign and a 4-player multiplayer game right now.
Interesting. And you
Yes.
work together as a party and stuff?
Oh yeah, you can control and walk your own.
Is it like a host has narrative control, and then
No,
like
everyone does.
everyone has narrative control?
Yeah, all the quests are like under the same umbrella. I haven't yet discovered whether we can do multiple quests at the same on each of our profiles and get different rewards, but it seems like we have to split them up in the same way you kind of have to split up loot as we go throughout the game. It's through that trying to create a Dungeons and Dragons experience in video game form, which it's doing very well, and that involves not everyone getting their own thing, but everyone levels up at the same time.
Interesting.
Yeah, the really stupid thing that they do, which we've been having an issue with, is though you can have 4 players, it's locked in to those 4 player characters. So if someone else wants to join in and play with, if one person can't make it and wants to join in with the other 3, they have to play either one of the NPCs the game gives you or the character player that was created, which is very stupid.
I mean, but you can kind of get why they choose to go that route. Like it's more of like a jump in and play, but not really have any actual progress or whatever. Because there's already been this campaign start, with all of its D&D elements. I kind of understand why, but it also does it, I assume it then eliminates the possibility of someone joining in a campaign late and staying in.
They can, but it has to be as someone that's already created. Now, the system they have in place, which I haven't really taken advantage of yet, our group, what we're doing is we have our 3 players that are sticking around, and we're keeping a 4th slot open because there's basically mercenaries you can recruit that you can't create the character themselves, but they're in every single class that you can upgrade as you see fit. So if someone can jump in that way, though it's not going to be a truly self-made character, but at least they'll be able to choose whatever class they want to play. And I'm assuming you can jump in and jump out with this. It's just swap outable. It's switchable, but I would prefer if someone can just have their own character, and then when you join in on some of these games, you just level them up to whatever level they're currently at.
Oh, you want to use characters from different campaigns?
Not even different campaigns, just different. We would like it to where multiplayer people who aren't in our campaign originally can jump in with their own created character and class. And since it already scales automatically with the party, just do it with a new because the scaling
just let them build a character.
Yeah, exactly.
Got you. That makes sense. Anyways, shout out to, I missed it in the chat when it happened. Shout out, I follow if you can burp, following the channel. Thank you so much for that. What's up, boys? Nice pod. Thank you, sir. We appreciate that. This, of course, ladies and gentlemen, is the Two Penny Gamescast, where every week me and Connor come to you and we talk to you about the new news you need to know concerning the video game industry. We each come to you with 2 topics, 2 pennies, if you will, and we give you our 2 cents on them. You can catch us every Monday at 8 a.m. Central Time, youtube.com/@2pennygames, or mainstream podcast services of your choice. It's important to note we are no longer uploading new episodes to SoundCloud. So if you were listening to SoundCloud, you are going to have to jump over to your Spotify's, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, or subscribe to the YouTube channel. Again, youtube.com/@2pennygames. I'm not too worried about losing too many people because I saw the numbers. Ain't nobody listening on SoundCloud. So that's A-okay.
One of our original upload sites. Goodbye.
Yeah, it is. It is. Just,
not good.
We don't get paid to do this, so it is costing me a lot of money to have that server, and it just wasn't worth it.
Surprised they didn't happen sooner, to be quite honest. It was floated around a while ago.
It's because I went on a yearly thing and I forgot to just deactivate it. And to be honest, it only deactivated this time because I had a new card and it didn't have my old card or didn't have my new card information. And it sent me an email like, "Hey, your shit's not working." And I was like, "That's fine. It can stay not working."
Convenient.
You can also watch us live every Sunday around 4 p.m. Central Time on twitch.tv/2pennygames, where we record all of our podcasts live, including the Piggy Bank and the 2 Penny Game Club, which will be stitched on to the end of this episode if you're listening on podcast services. That's right. It is time for our monthly video game book club review. This time, Shadow of the Colossus. If you watched live, you already know where it ranks, but if you're watching on the VOD or on YouTube or on one of the audio streaming services, stick around to the end of the episode. Time codes, as always, are in the description, along with links to all of our personal social media sites and our TikTok. Please go follow us on TikTok. We post breakout news segments that Connor himself edits down, which are very, very nice. I do the reviews, and we're working on Phil getting in on it and getting him something to do there too. So go follow us on TikTok and all of that. It's a lot of great experiences, we'll say. A lot of great experiences. You know what I mean? Anyways, Connor, enough talking about Baldur's Gate 3 and enough with the rigmarole, which honestly I do really want to play Baldur's Gate 3, but I'm waiting for PlayStation because fuck me if I ever play a game on a PC.
Admittedly, your laptop, as good as it is, would have more difficult time, I believe.
Probably.
Yeah, it's demanding.
It's a little old now, the laptop. You know, it's a 2020 laptop. It's, you know, mid to late 2023, depending on how you look at it. Yeah, so it's time for an upgrade. But that's for another time. Let's jump right into it. Our first topic of the day, my first penny. Oh, man, Connor, we had an interesting little weekend this week. Let me tell you what. Twitch streamer Cenat charged with inciting a riot after chaotic giveaway in Union Square. We are pulling from The Verge by Jay Peters. A massive gathering of people showed up on Friday afternoon at New York City's Union Square for a giveaway hosted by 2 social media influencers, mega popular Twitch streamer Cenat and another streamer, Phantom. Cenat is the most subscribed streamer on Twitch, according to Twitch Tracker. The giveaway was set to take place at Union Square Park at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, and the park was full of people by 3 p.m. An earlier video posted by Cenat from the inside of a vehicle showed him talking about multiple PS5s he intended to give away while showing off a huge stack of $100 gift cards. The video quickly devolves into chaos when Cenat exits the vehicle, with the crowd immediately collapsing on Cenat and his group. Cenat also posted a nearly 3-minute stream on Twitch that failed to show much. On Saturday, ABC News reported that the streamer Carlos Cenat III had been issued a desk appearance ticket for charges, including at least 2 counts of inciting a riot, and released from custody earlier Saturday morning. According to the Associated Press, a police spokesman said Cenat is due to appear in court on August 18th. The only public statement from those involved with planning the event has been an Instagram story posted by Cenat's AMP Any Means Possible group, saying, quote, "We apologize to all of those impacted and we are fully cooperating with local authorities." In one press conference given after the incident, NYPD Chief of Department Jeffrey Madry responded to the questions about Cenat, saying, quote, "We do have him," but didn't specify in what precinct. According to Madry, the NYPD became aware of the posts at about 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time, before the post went viral at around 3 p.m. After some in the crowd acted violently, he said, the police removed Cenat from the park before eventually declaring the gathering an unlawful assembly. During a second press conference Friday, Madry announced that Cenat would be charged with at least 2 counts of inciting a riot and unlawful assembly. At that time, he told reporters there had been 65 arrests, including 30 juveniles, and also noted several civilians and police officers who were sent to the hospital after the event to have injuries treated, including at least 1 teenager harmed by fireworks and some people who suffered broken bones. Cenat and Phantom continued posting to social media on Friday before their accounts went quiet. Posts on, and in some cases quickly deleted from, their Instagram stories included one with the text, quote, "I love you guys to the fullest. You guys are amazing. The love from home base is real. Please be safe."
Crazy.
Crazy indeed. So this is, unfortunately, 100% Cenat's fault, in my opinion. I think he totally screwed up in the planning of this event and so forth. Having giveaway events and having huge followings and all that's fine, but you have to do it in the right ways when you get to a certain level. And Cenat is well past that level. He knows his level of popularity and influence on the internet right now. And he should have better prepared local authorities. He should have better planned it with city services, and should have talked to his audience better about how behavior is going to work and how it's all going to happen. And it's just really like, bro, you can't just show up with 1,000 people and expect them to all like act nicely, especially because, you know, I've seen a lot of clips of Cenat's streams and so forth. He likes to do a lot of crazy antics, a lot of wild stuff going on in his streams and so forth, and all that's cool and entertaining. I like some of his clips that I see on the internet, but bro, when you're a little bit wild, you need to like control your people a little bit better, especially because you got all these kids out here, man. Over nearly half of the arrests were juveniles. What? You got a bunch of kids out here watching you, looking up to you, man, coming out excited to see you and all these things, and you're not helping them behave in a acceptable manner. This is unfortunate that this happened. I hope those who are hurt recover quickly. I hope that Cenat is able to get past this without too much damage to his career or anything like that. But I also hope that he is held accountable for this, because he should be. Because this is his fault. This is his mistake. The fact that the police didn't even know that a huge gathering like this was going to happen in New York City Union Square. There's already a lot of people there on a Friday afternoon, bro. The fact that you didn't give any heads up to authorities or to the city at all, like, that's a problem. And, you know, if you watch this show, like, you know, like, I'm not a big fan of police or whatever, but like, when you're gathering this many people here, their safety is your responsibility, and you've not lived up to the responsibilities laid at your feet here, in my humble opinion. Again, I like Cenat's streams and clips. I think he's a funny dude. I think he's a very entertaining personality. But and I don't think, for the most part, I don't see his stuff as problematic, just as like wild and rambunctious, you know, content. But yeah, this needs to be dealt with.
Yeah, you know, he clearly is at fault. You don't just have a huge event like that when you're like one of the biggest streamers. Mm-hmm. I didn't really know about this guy beforehand, but clearly he's, you know, the metrics are there. He is.
He's huge. He's so big. I'm surprised you don't know about him.
Yeah, I don't really pay attention to Twitch. I don't use it at all, really. So he clearly had a lot of the onus is on him for doing that kind of thing, and it's leading to problems. What those problems would have been in hindsight, we know is a riot, but I can see him not expecting this to happen. It was clearly not his intention, which, since you've already, you know, lambasted him for his issues with this riot, the other one, which has to be pointed out, why can't you just go to a thing like this and not cause a riot? I mean, there's a line, I know this is gonna be funny, from Men in Black. Tommy Lee Jones' character says it, puts it pretty well. A person is smart. People are dumb. And when you have a large group of people like this get together, they act fools.
Well, it's also like I mean, you're dealing with a bunch of young people who are just excited, and they're excited to be together, and they're excited to have this like in live event or whatever. So, you know, they're getting carried away and they're bringing fireworks and shit. You probably shouldn't do that, bro. But sure. And the personality is wild. Like Kai is a wild guy. He does a lot of wild stuff on stream and so forth. But
it definitely is.
Yeah, but you know, you put a lot of people's lives on the line here, and luckily nobody, you know, God forbid, died or anything. But you know, some bones were broken. Some you know, some people were hurt, and some people were arrested, and that's on you, dog. Like, it didn't need to go down that way.
It is on him, but at the end of the day, every person is responsible for their own actions, and when you devolve over a PS5 giveaway into breaking cars, there's nothing else other than to call the people who took part in that idiots. Foolish idiots. Young or old, it's basic knowledge, regardless of how old you are, that you don't just smash cars over a PlayStation giveaway or any kind of sports event or anything related to something like this. That's just common knowledge. Obviously, this isn't something you should hold over the people who did it, particularly the you shouldn't hold it over the adolescents who did it because they are adolescents, but it is basic knowledge to not do that kind of thing, and you are stupid, kid or no. And for the people that weren't adolescents that caused problems, what are you doing? Grow up. Stop being a dipshit. You know, you're.
Well, I'm sure it's still like young adults, Connor. Like we're still looking at 18, 19, 20-year-olds. Like,
yeah, sure. You're still stupid and an idiot. You from certain things you get leeway for, causing riots at 20 years old. Come on, now you once again you shouldn't be held.
I mean, over things like this, I agree with you. Like your favorite Twitch streamer coming out and giving away PS5s. Like I understand we're all excited and fandom can get away from us and so forth. I mean, you see examples of like, people at sports events or when their favorite musical artist comes into town, like they tear the town up or whatever. So I understand like the excitement just gets away from people to a certain extent. I'm gonna pull it back a little bit from your perspective here. I just think a lot of the onus comes on the people in charge of these things. It's not like there's no reason to be running up on cars and bouncing on car hoods and breaking windows and stuff like that. Because your favorite streamer hit the streets or whatever. Like that's a lot. Like there's a lot going on there. But I understand the momentum that the excitement and the momentum that comes with a group setting like that. Like I get why things went crazy and so forth. But again, that means it is on the people in charge of the event to mitigate these things and to make sure that it doesn't go down crazy stuff like that and so forth. So like you should be calling, the people who are in charge of the area that you're showing up to for a meet and greet. You should be, if you're expecting a large crowd, you should be letting local authorities know, being like, hey man, we're putting this together. How can we work with you in order to make sure that everyone can come through, have a great time, be excited and have fun, but do it safely.
One last point. You are right. Absolutely. One last point I would make.
Of course I am.
We live well, shut up. We live in Texas. There's many good things about the state, many bad things about it. Many good things about New York, many bad things about New York.
Sure.
This is one of those reasons I'm happy I don't live in New York City. I do want to visit it a lot. It's one of the top places I want to visit. But between this and all the rats I would have to deal with, I'm fine. They're mainly the rats.
You got a rat problem?
I don't have a rat problem. I just hate them so much, and to the degree I know I would have to deal with them in New York City, I'm just like,
this is why you're a Vermintide 2 fan, is because of the rats you get to kill.
I love Charlie Day. I love Always Sunny in Philadelphia, so I love bashing rats.
I love bashing rats.
Not in real life, though. I can't do that as much.
You brought it up there. I saw a clip. I'm not a Sunny in Philadelphia fan. I don't find it particularly humorous. But I did see a clip come up on my timeline today where, who's the idiot? The Charlie Day character?
Charlie.
Yeah. Where he goes, hey, did you guys know Pittsburgh is in what is the state they're in? Pennsylvania. Did you know Pittsburgh is in Pennsylvania? And they go, yeah. And they go, but so is Philadelphia? Yeah. That's not crazy to you guys? No. That two cities are in the same state. Yeah, that's not crazy. That happens. All the states have multiple cities. He goes, no, you can't have more than one city. And I was like, that was a great conversation. I was laughing my ass off on that one when it came up on my feed the other day. But
I see his logic.
Yeah, right. Anyways,
fun little side story. This is just because the rat thing, and it's always funny to bring it up. One of the things I have to deal with in my job is rats in cinder blocks that we use to build up grids. And my store's been having a problem with it. So I had to flip a bunch of bricks to make sure that they didn't get inside of them. And since they were already there, I had to get like a broomstick and just like rattle them around and have them all like run out the blocks. So I've had my fill of rats. I'm fine with
that. You've had recent experience with the rats. Okay, here we go. Connor, moving on to our second topic of the day. My second penny going on. I forgot to change that. That's fine. Sources: Nintendo targets 2024 with next-gen console. This is a VGC article by Andy Robinson. Development kits for Nintendo's next console are now with key partner studios with launch planned for next year, sources have told VGC. According to multiple people with knowledge of Nintendo's next-gen console plans, the company is likely to release new hardware during the second half of 2024 to ensure that it has ample stock available available on day one, and to avoid the kind of shortages seen with the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X/S. Although specific details on the console are being kept closely guarded, those VGC spoke to indicated that the next-gen console would be able to be used in portable mode, similar to the Nintendo Switch. Two sources VGC spoke to suggested that the console could launch with an LCD screen instead of a more premium OLED in order to bring costs down, especially considering the increased storage needed for higher fidelity games. The current Switch comes with just 32 gigabytes of internal memory, while many current gen PlayStation and Xbox games are over 100 gigabytes. Like its predecessor, the new Nintendo console will also accept physical games via a cartridge slot, sources said. Other details such as backwards compatibility support for Switch games, physical and digital, remains unclear. Nintendo has said it wants to convert as many of Switch's 100 million plus user base as possible to its next system, although some third-party publishers are said to have expressed concern that legacy support for Switch games could negatively affect sales of next-gen titles. Nintendo did not immediately respond to VGC's request for comment on this story. Tokyo-based industry consultant Dr. Serkan Toto told VGC that a 2024 console launch would make sense for Nintendo, since it's projected to see double-digit declines in Switch hardware and software sales this year, after it cleared 7 years in the market. Quote, "I would generally say that looking at Nintendo's financials, it seems clear that it's time for a new piece of hardware in 2024. Hardware is already projected to fall 16.5% year on year in the current fiscal, while the minus for software is expected to hit 15.9%. The only way to stop these losses from totally ballooning next fiscal is a new device. And the second half of 2024 sounds like a realistic release window to me." So, Nintendo, new Switch console of some kind, still uses portable mode, likely still using an LCD, not an OLED screen, and whether or not it's backwards compatible, still up in the air. Connor, what are your thoughts?
Well, it is about time for a new console. We thought there was going to be another version of the Switch. It seems like it's looking to be something different, but have the same functions that we expect from Switches, particularly portability, which is all I really care about at the end of the day. I get not having an OLED screen in favor of, bringing down the cost, because I don't want it to be too expensive. And obviously you have to function in the fact that it's going to be able to be taken wherever you want to, or at least it's supposed to be. It's going to have to play newer games, more updated games, have larger space. That all makes sense. I'm curious just as to what it's going to be, because we're so in the mind of what the Switch is and how that works that we didn't really think, whenever we were talking about a new Nintendo console up until this point, that it was going to be anything other than just the Switch 2.0 or the Switch 2. So if it's going to be something that's vastly different based off this source, I have no clue what form it's going to take, since I'm so in the mind of just it being Switch and not much else. I just hope it's going to be able to play a lot better than Switch does and run a lot better and be more advanced. Other than that, if it's not the most high fidelity platform out there, that's fine. I have PC, I have PS5, people have the Xbox. That covers those bases. Be in the same realm as the Steam Deck, where its portability is the main priority still, because that's what people like about the Switch. It's what I like about the Switch the most as well.
On the piggy bank that we recorded this week, that will be out next week, but I'll break out the review for it early, so it's already on the channel of youtube.com/2pennygames, where I've been playing Tears of the Kingdom, and I'm a renowned Breath of the Wild hater, and but I like Tears of the Kingdom. You can see that in all of that, my full thoughts on that. One thing I forgot to talk about was that the biggest letdown of Tears of the Kingdom is the fact that it's on the Nintendo Switch. Load times are not great. So many loading screens all the time. The fact that when you enter a shrine, whenever you come back, the world resets. So that, whatever vehicle or contraption you had parked outside the shrine has disappeared. All of this wouldn't happen on better hardware like a PlayStation 5. And so I think Nintendo is desperately in the need for an upgrade. The Switch came in underpowered when it launched in 2017. Like, it was lesser than a PlayStation 4. And that's like kind of been their thing. It's just low power, but for mobility, you know, to be able to use it portably. I think we are very much in need of a Nintendo Switch 2, a Super Switch, Super Nintendo Switch, whatever you want to call it, Nintendo. We're very much in need for it, and I think, I mean, if you just look at the lineup of Nintendo titles that we've had recently, it's just time for a refresh. You know, we have the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, we have the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, we have 2 Legend of Zelda games, 3 if you count the Link's Awakening remake. We've got a 2D Mario on the way. We've got a 3D Mario from launch. We've got mad ports from the Wii U and stuff. And now we're like digging at the bottom of the barrel. We're getting a Peach game at some point, a Princess Peach game. All right, yeah, it's time for a new console because, like, you know, we've run through all of the major franchises and so forth, with the exception of Metroid Prime, which, you know, seems to be in some sort of development hell, but is still listed as a Nintendo Switch game. As for backwards compatibility, I think you need it. I don't think it's a question. Like, it is a necessity to have it. And I think, honestly, because of the necessity to have backwards compatibility, it's going to hold the Switch 2 back even more. So I think what we're basically getting is an upgraded version of the original Switch that we have, but it's still going to come in underpowered, probably still not even as powerful as a PlayStation 4, which is insane to say as we now reach the halfway point of the PlayStation 5 generation. And you know, we're at the point where it's like, yo, like, Nintendo, you've never been about the power. You've never been about the fidelity of your titles or whatever. But you are so far behind in every other way that, like, third party doesn't know what to do with you. Like, they just don't. Apex Legends, come on now, that thing ran like shit. You know?
Oh, hey, what are you talking about?
What are you talking about? No, yeah, but I mean, like, I love my Switch. I think it's fantastic. I'm so glad that I've had so many reasons to play my Switch this year. Between Tears of the Kingdom, I'm playing Disney Illusion Island right now and having a good time with that. I probably will review it next week just for shits and giggles. And then we have Super Mario Wonder and Super Mario RPG Remake coming that I'm very excited to play those as well. I have a lot of reasons to play my Switch. There's a lot of great titles coming to Switch. It's just unfortunate that the hardware is holding these titles back from being better than they are, or better than they could be.
Well, let's see what they do with this next one.
God, I hope. Yeah. And, you know, and there was a report, I think last week or a couple weeks ago, we didn't cover it on the podcast, but they're basically intending to use the same network ID. So your friends list and stuff should all carry over, and your ID should all carry over, and your friend code should be the same in that. So that's a good sign for backwards compatibility, that it's probably going to happen. Connor, what's your over-under on backwards compatibility? Will it happen or no?
That's kind of the other thing that I was going to bring up. I don't know if it will happen. It needs to happen, I think. I feel like if you're making something portable, the chip, the cards, is something that it would also be on. Yeah. If it's not, and it's maybe something bigger, I feel like you can also put in another reader. I'd be able to pay extra. I think most people would be willing to pay whatever extra money.
The 3DS, at least the first version of it, had like a small little alcove inside the big, like, because the 3DS ones were bigger, right? Or were they smaller?
Yes, they were bigger.
They were bigger. But you still had another, like, alcove in there that you could play original DS titles on.
There was a DS you can play Game Boy titles on. It's kind of always been one of their big things. So I don't see why they wouldn't do it for this, especially when I have so many games that I love on Switch that I want to be able to transfer over and continue to play on the go. Yeah, I really do think that even if it would cost extra money, like I said, that would increase their sales when it does come out, because there's less of a big, like, oh, I gotta buy another game, buy the same game again if I want to play it on this new, you know, Nintendo console. I think that'll alleviate a lot of problems and make people more receptive to the new console that comes out.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm with that. I mean, from Wii U to Switch, there was not a lot of need to have backwards compatibility with your 13 million user base. Like, just not a lot. You could just port those titles and they'll come over. But 100 million users, you want that transition. You don't want them clinging to the old and being like, oh, well, I don't want to get a Switch 2 yet because I'm still enjoying my Switch and I can't play all the games I already have on there. You want them to be like, oh, I can get the new thing and still play Tears of the Kingdom or Super Mario Wonder or, you know, whatever title you want to throw out there or so forth. I mean, we've had 2 Fire Emblems on the Switch. Like, we need another console here, man. And to your point, I think the fact that they're still using cartridge-based a cartridge-based medium, I think that points us in the direction of like, well, they kind of have to keep it going, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, we'll see if they're smart enough to do that.
Indeed. Speaking of being smart enough to do it, and if they're up to the challenge, oh boy, here we go. Third topic of the day. Connor, your first penny of the day. Star Wars Jedi Survivor is coming to PS4 and Xbox One. Carry it away, my friend.
Of course. The Verge. Got an article from The Verge here, particularly from Jay Peters. Star Wars Jedi Survivor is coming to PS4 and Xbox One. Star Wars Jedi Survivor will be released on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. EA CEO Andrew Wilson announced
a lot of letters.
I know, right? I was like, Q1 earnings call on Tuesday. The game launched in April on PS5, Xbox Series X/S, and PC, but skipped Sony and Microsoft's older hardware. So with this new release, people who haven't upgraded to the newer consoles will eventually be able to check out the game. However, we do not know exactly when Jedi Survivor will be coming to older consoles. Here's Wilson's quote about the release. Quote, thanks to the strength of this legendary franchise and community demand, our development team has committed to bringing the Jedi experience PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. Jedi Survivor is a sequel to 2019's Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. The game was released at the end of April after a short delay. At launch, EA said the game, quote, isn't performing to our standards on some PCs after players reported some issues. Hopefully the development team gets as much time as it needs to make sure that the game runs well on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. And if it didn't do that well on Steam, I have a feeling it's not going to do that well on the older consoles.
Guys, it's still not running great on PlayStation 5. What are we talking about here? What is the point of this? Go ahead.
No, okay, so I get why. People can't upgrade to the PS5 and the new Xbox. People don't have a high enough PC to play this game. I understand and support wanting to bring it to other people. My issue really comes into what are these people who make the games, who are already probably working a bunch, gonna have to deal with to get this game out on the PS4 and Xbox One, much less get it working properly. Since, as you said, PS5 it's not running well. PC, I'm assuming there's problems as well still, even if they fixed most of the problems that it had on launch. It's just, it almost kind of seems like it wouldn't be worth it, mainly because of the workers who would have to make it. And also just like, how much will this really do? Because even though there are obviously people that don't have the newer hardware that would want to play this, I mean, is it that big of a market from a financial standpoint to justify it? I have no clue.
Well, you have over 100 million PS4s out there, so yeah, there's a market out there, and a noticeably smaller market on PlayStation 5. There was a story, I think we talked about it last week, where the Final Fantasy, or maybe it was the week before, where the Final Fantasy guys were saying, hey, no, Final Fantasy 16 is selling well. It's just that it's on a smaller user base thing, so like it's selling to our expectations. It's just not selling crazy because there's not enough PlayStation 5s in the wild. But my point is like, this is how you get more PlayStation 5s in the wild, is you have great games that work well and can't operate on older hardware. You're telling me a game that came out 3 years into the PlayStation 5 life cycle, came out first to PS5 and then is going to PS4? Now, granted, this has happened before. There's usually long tails for these hardware things and so forth. And game development takes so long these days that, like, this was probably a PlayStation 4 game anyways, like, working off of that base and that hardware. But it was chugging. It was struggling. Like, it had a lot of issues. It's the main reason that I couldn't personally give it, like, a 9 or a 10. And I gave it an 8 on our scale, is because the performance is crap. Like, it sucks. Like, there's frame rate issues, popping, clipping issues. You're going through walls. Enemies are falling through the floor. Like, there's a lot of issues in these games. But like, the best I can imagine for this game running on a PlayStation 4, those moments where like the textures were having struggle loading in and it was all flat and muted and stuff. I feel like that's just all the time for PlayStation 4. That's probably the best that they can do on that, I imagine, at least. But yeah, man, it's so disappointing that like this deep into the console lifespan, our main hit games are still going backwards into those things.
Well, I guess we'll have to see how it plays when it comes out. I'm certainly not playing it on PS4. Not busting it out for Jedi Survivor.
Oh, hell no.
But no.
I mean, maybe to get another platinum trophy.
Look at you.
I know. I'm a slut. I'm a dirty little slut for the platinum
You are.
trophies. I'll
You get
spend
that
$60 on some Jedi Survivor. I mean, to be fair, Jedi Survivor is a great game. It's really fun to play. Like, I would totally be down to play it again, and get it put in that work.
Tech limitations aside, you would buy this game twice, but not Baldur's Gate 3 for cross progression.
I wouldn't buy Baldur's Gate 3. I wouldn't buy it a month apart. I can wait a month for the PlayStation 5 version. I'm not buying it now so that I can be a part of the conversation when the PS5 version is coming in a month. Like, I'm still going to be part of the conversation.
Yeah.
Survivor's not coming. Hey, guys, Survivor's not coming to PS4 this calendar year. It's not happening. So, there you go. If it comes out in the middle of summer, I got nothing to do. Yeah, sure. Fuck it. I'll load it up. Why not?
What?
And what's great about backwards compatibility, Nintendo Switch, take notes. I'll buy this game twice, and it'll still live on the PS5. I'm not digging out my PS4 for it. I'm putting it on my 5. It's awesome.
Well, you'll have fun here in a year or two.
Connor, moving on to our final topic of the day. Excuse me, having some hiccups. Your second penny. Take it away.
Well, we got a Game Rant article here from Dominic Bosnack. Rumor: Elder Scrolls 4 remake is in development. Rumors suggest that a remake or remaster of the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion may be in development, although
just skip down to the actual article. Don't read the highlights.
I was going to, and I was like, I debated in my mind. I was like, should I do that? Nah, I'll do it, but I guess not. A remake or remaster of the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion might be on the horizon, according to a newly surfaced rumor. However, the project is allegedly not in the works of Bethesda, who is currently busy wrapping up development on Starfield. Prior to this newly emerged claim, there have been no indications that Bethesda is considering a remake of the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. In fact, the studio has so far resisted the trend of AAA video game remakes altogether. All of that might change within the next 24 months, according to a recently leaked roadmap detailing the upcoming projects from the Paris branch of Virtuos. Virtuos.
Virtuous. Yeah.
Virtuous. Okay, yeah. That's an actual word. An international studio specializing in remakes, remasters, and AAA code development efforts. Namely, the Singapore-based company is currently said to be working on an updated version of the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, which is codenamed Alter. The supposedly Unreal Engine 5 powered game is reportedly targeting a late 2024 or early 2025 release, depending on whether Virtuos ends up delivering a remaster or fully fledged remake. Virtuos's alleged project roadmap containing this claim surfaced on the r/gaming leaks and rumors subreddit over the weekend, with that community's mod team reporting that they had verified the identity of its poster as an ex-Virtuos employee. The source of the leak deleted both their post and Reddit account within hours of sharing the info, but not before it was reported to Xfire. Apart from the alleged Oblivion remake, the Paris branch of Virtuos is currently said to be developing a, quote, narrative climbing game, codenamed Ominous, in the next expansion for New World, Amazon's 2021 MMORPG. The same source claimed that the studio is presently working on an ambitious AAA title, aptly codenamed Massive, which will supposedly combine Shadow of the Colossus-like gigantic bosses with the co-op gameplay loop of mainline Monster Hunter games. Finally, Virtuos is currently also working on Metal Gear Solid Delta, which the leaker claimed is internally codenamed Cobra. Originally released in 2006, Oblivion is widely considered to be one of the best The Elder Scrolls games ever created. Aside from its immense cultural influences that are still felt to this day, the fourth installment in the long-running franchise is also notable for being the first TES game to fully commit to the action RPG formula. This transition from the series' tabletop RPG roots is best illustrated by the fact that swinging at an opponent in Oblivion guarantees a hit, whereas doing the same in Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind merely triggers a roll that determines whether the attack will actually land. Something that I heard would lead to many, many difficult situations. But have you?
Oh yeah.
You've never played Elder Scrolls 4, right?
I gave it a try. I gave it like a solid hour, and it's an old game, And I was struggling with some of the UI mechanics and being able to read the language of the game. What I played, I enjoyed, but I just couldn't. I couldn't get into it just because I didn't understand what I was reading, because of just how the RPG icons and stuff, like what that used to mean, has changed drastically in the modern era. Listen, I think this is a smart idea, especially a smart idea from Microsoft to give us an update to as Elder Scrolls 6 is very far away, very very far away. Um, Microsoft definitely wants something like an Elder Scrolls exclusive to their platform, and they want it sooner rather than later. I think Oblivion is a great choice for a remaster, especially because we really haven't had any type of porting or remastering done to that game. I think Virtuous Studios would be an interesting pick, but it's a studio that we've still yet to see, what they really have in store for us. I think their first big test is the Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater remake, which if they nail that, great. We have another Blue Point, or and if they don't, so much nail it, then oof. Okay, all right, there we go. But I think if this is set to come out late next year or early 2025, that to me reads more of a remaster than a remake, because we would have known about this by now. We would have already known, if it was this close, and this is a big thing. It's a big deal. You can't just remake an Elder Scrolls game and have it launch in the same calendar year. That's fucking nuts. That's a train. Spoilers, we're not getting Metal Gear Solid Delta next year. We're not. It's gonna be
Really?
it's gonna be probably 2 years from now at least. Does alter mean anything in the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion?
It's been a while since I played it. This was a formative game for me. It's why
Yeah.
I bought an Xbox 360. It was one of my favorite games of all time for a long, long time, or at least in that echelon of it. But there's a lot of, if I remember correctly, there were altars you can find in the game where if you went to them, they would give you some kind of buff, and ancient ruins, I believe. So
These
I'm
are
assuming that's
these are like the stones in Skyrim.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, kind of like that. But I think it was more temporary buffs. Like I said, it's been a long time. I can't remember something as nondescript as that, but I'm assuming that's why. Strange to do that as a code name, but I guess somebody found that pretty striking enough to be considered a code name for a remaster.
Well, giving Snake Eater the code name Cobra kind of makes sense because the Cobra unit is the group of bad guys you're fighting in the game, so that kind of makes sense. So I was wondering if altar is there's a big sacrificial altar or something, or altars had a big mechanical purpose in the game or something like that. So, anyways, where are you coming down on this?
I mean, it's great. I would like a remake more than a remaster. I probably wouldn't get into a remaster, just because. Well, I would get into a remaster depending on how it looks. Because if it's a big visual overhaul, I'll be like, yeah, sure. I don't really get into the modding scene, which probably already solves a lot of those problems. So for that reason, I don't think for more tech savvy people, it's probably not that hard to mod. Would probably just be like, I can just do mods, and I don't need to do this official remaster, buy another game. But I mean, for people like me, it might, and for a lot of other people out there, it might have a pretty good, reason to pick this up, just based entirely how it looks, because the visuals are really what the most outdated thing is. I know the combat's not that great, but I've never, in the same way a lot of people have problems with Skyrim gameplay and this gameplay, I don't really have an issue with either one of them. I can find enjoyment in both of them. So really, it's just a visual upgrade that's needed. So I'm pretty up on this. I'll jump back into it, relive my childhood to some degree.
Yeah, I'd like a remaster of it. Mostly if they just redo all of the UI elements and make them a little easier to read in the modern era, that would help out a lot. And then, just, touch up those textures and make it look nicer, run 60 FPS, hopefully, maybe, probably not, just because of how game development works. But yeah, if it, because it looks cartoony. It looks like a Nickelodeon, Jimmy Neutron styled animated show. You know what I mean? So it's an old game, so it doesn't look the best. So definitely an upgrade there. Would I like a full remake? Sure, but I don't know if Virtuous has it in them for a full remake of a game of that scale. Metal Gear Solid Delta, Snake Eater's a very linear game. Sure, there's some big environments in it, but most of them are pretty small. And I think most of the changes in that game are going to be visual, and then probably a more modern gameplay feel to it. Whereas, a huge RPG like this is a lot to ask, and a lot of coding, and a lot of crunching numbers and so forth. And I don't know if Virtuous is ready for a project of that scale. So I think a remaster makes more sense.
You know what?
Yeah.
I have to push back on that since I just uncovered something. They were responsible for doing the remaster of Final Fantasy XII, the Zodiac Age, which did a very good job of making it visually enhanced. And that's a very big game.
Those games, is that game on the same scale as an Elder Scrolls, though? Because isn't Final Fantasy XII one of the ones that gets lauded for being too linear?
They have large open areas, a lot of different hunts. They have a big hunt mechanic that was kind of brought back in 16. That was very cool. It's a Final Fantasy game, so it's got a pretty long story, certainly longer than Elder Scrolls. It's got less side quests and less in-depth side quests.
I would argue it's easier to, game development's really fucking hard from what I understand. I know nothing about it, so I'm talking completely out of my ass here. But I imagine a Final Fantasy game is a little easier to make and a little easier to remaster or to remake rather than an Elder Scrolls game, where you have to keep in mind that like you're carrying all these items, you're moving them from location to location. There's a lot more locations. Final Fantasy games usually, do you have experience with 12? I don't know.
Oh, I looked. Yeah.
Okay, great. Final Fantasy games often like lock you off from a certain place, like so that you can get to a new place. Whereas like Elder Scrolls, you have the openness of it, like you can go wherever you want, whenever you want. So that is a lot harder to work around as opposed to like, okay, we've left Midgar, we can close off Midgar, and we don't have to worry about Midgar.
12 is more open world than like 7. It is an open world.
Okay. All right. Cool. All right. Well, I mean, we'll see, but I mean, still, it's just that, and also like Virtuous is a backup studio, so like, how much of the remaster did they do?
Exactly. That is true. Well, it just gives me more hope than just thinking that they're not gonna not set up for the job. They've clearly done it before to a degree. Even if this is a bigger undertaking, that's kind of how it goes. You do something that a remaster like Final Fantasy XII Zodiac Age, and if it's harder to do with Oblivion, be like, okay, this is the next step up to improve your skills as developers. I mean, it could be the beginning of a studio that comes out of the woodwork from being a supporting studio to being a mainline studio.
I mean, we could be looking at another Blue Point. Like,
could be.
Yeah. Is what we could be looking at. Which would be exciting because I love Blue Point. I love what they're doing. I love all the remasters and remakes that they focus on and all the support they do over there. They helped out Santa Monica Studios with God of War Ragnarok very heavily last year. So that was all great and so forth. So I'd love to see what else they have in store. And if they're ready for it, then sure, do it. But, if maybe it's too big of a task, all right, well, let's start small and do something a little smaller and then work up to it. Anyways, Connor, we're going to wrap it up there because we have a whole review of Shadow of the Colossus to get into right here. So stick around for that. But that is going to end our news segment for the day. Make sure everyone like, subscribe, and drop down in the comments 2 pennies that you would like us to talk about on the show. Excuse me.
You messed it up.
I messed it up. Drop down in the comments what you want us to talk about, whether it's a news story we didn't have time to cover, whether it's an opinion piece about games or so forth, or if you just want us to talk about a more nebulous topic like, some of our favorite childhood games growing up, like Connor with the Oblivion and so forth. Please let us know. Until next time, have a great time. Stick around for the review. And Connor, say goodbye to the people.
Goodbye.
What's poppin', players? Welcome back to the 2 Penny Game Club, your monthly video game book club. I am your host, Tavin Bothel, here with my good friends and co-hosts. Say hello to the people, Connor, Elliott.
Hello. I was curious as to who you were going to say first, since someone replaced me last time, and I guess that means they're the number 2 now.
Replace? You were on vacation, or you were doing like a little what are they called? Convention thing. Lord alive, I cannot think of words today.
I was ousted, is what happened.
Also, that's a different video. Like this is the game club, not the 2 Penny Gamescast.
Exactly.
Oh,
yeah.
Dang
get it correct, Connor. Get the great point there. Say hello to the people. Phil Shoemaker.
Yeah, that's me. I replaced Connor on the 2 Penny Gamescast last week.
He's the permanent host now. He's just there at all times every week.
Is that because of what I just said? Is that why?
Well, it's your behind-the-scenes toxic workplace behavior, Connor. We're just going to slowly phase you out before you get canceled on Twitter.
Because of that man that you skinned and flayed and degloved his hands. And
Jesus Christ!
At least Tavin had the decency to be nondescript. Thanks.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Two Penny Game Club, your monthly video game book club in which me, Connor, and Phil, we all sit down together during the month. In the background, we play a video game, and we come back to you at the beginning of each new month and review it for your viewing pleasure. We have done games such as God of War Ragnarok, The Last of Us, Chrono Trigger, Portal, and this month we are doing Shadow of the Colossus. A quick, what is it called? Not an asterisk. What is like a quick, God, I'm really bad with words today.
I think asterisk is what you're looking for.
Disclaimer. A quick disclaimer is what I'll say. Normally I record the B-roll for every game we review, or one of us records the B-roll for every game we review. I did do that this month, but then somehow lost that footage. So I pulled up real quick Shadow of the Colossus PS4 gameplay, no commentary, and that's what you're watching on screen right now in the little bottom right corner there.
From who?
Scirocco?
Shira? Yeah.
I think they have 1.97 million 1.97 million subscribers on YouTube. So they're doing a lot better than us. So it's okay. A lot better than us. So, gentlemen, some quick facts for you before we get all the way into it. Shadow of the Colossus, October 18th, 2005. That is its initial release date, having a Metacritic score of 91. A user score of 9.1. Shadow of the Colossus on PS2 sold around, I had the number, and now I've lost the number, 2.7 million copies on the PS2, and I think that's also for the PS3 version as well, is where that comes in. And then off of Wikipedia, I pulled this because I thought it was an interesting little quote. Shadow of the Colossus has been cited as an influence on various games, including God of War 2, God of War 3, Titan Souls, Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, Death's Gambit, Pray for the Gods, and Elden Ring. Film director Guillermo del Toro considers both Ico and Shadow of the Colossus as masterpieces and part of his directorial influence. Shadow of the Colossus is also cited numerous times in debates regarding the art quality and emotional perspectives of video games. 91 on Metacritic. It is the let me scroll back up and find the actual thing. It is the 11th highest rated game of 2005. We all played the PS4 Bluepoint remake version of the game, which also has a 91 on Metacritic, but a 7.8 on user scores. Not as friendly the gaming audience to the remake version for, whatever reason they want to do it. And the remake, from what I can see from VG charts, sold about 1.2 million copies. So, just a successful game, huge legacy, big game, and now we've played it. Now, gentlemen, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm the only one on this panel who has played Shadow of the Colossus prior to this review.
Yes.
I think that's true, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And so, because of that, I don't think my take is very interesting. But I do want to hear the take of one Phil Shoemaker.
First? I'm going first?
I want to hear before anybody has any words, because it's worth noting, normally when we do these things, like we're just like texting in the group chat, hey, I'm this far, hey, I'm this far, I feel this way about the game. We were very conversational about Yakuza 0. When we reviewed Yakuza 0 last month, we were talking up a storm in the group chat. I said, hey guys, for this one, try your best, don't look up any guides, but if you have to, then go ahead and do it. And let's keep the talking about the game to a minimum until we get to review, because I think it'd make for a more interesting conversation if we all come in blind on how we feel about the game. And so, well, let me start first. Gentlemen, did either of you use any type of guide or anything?
No. I mean, I started, so about 3 Colossi in, I put on the Game Grumps playthrough just for old times. But, like, I was always ahead of where they were, so I was never, like, really using them for a guide.
Gotcha.
But I was just remembering, it was just a throwback, because I couldn't help but think of it after.
Very interesting. All right. Phil, tell me how you feel, and what are your thoughts on Shadow of the Colossus?
All right, so as many of you know, Shadow of the Colossus is a third-person, open-world horse-type game. Before, Breath of the Wild or other things like what's another
Red
horse
Dead.
type? Red Dead.
Elden
Ring
ish.
Elden Ring, yeah, that kind of thing. And I was surprised at how short this game was. Very simple. Very. I liked how subtle the narrative was. It was very much not I mean, as much as little of a narrative there is, I did still enjoy the overall like subtlety that was just in, hey, this next Colossus is here. My girlfriend's dead. I have to go kill that thing and all these other Colossi to resurrect her, right? Or perform this resurrection ritual. Anyway, so yeah, you're sent off by this god. I can't remember his name or its name to go kill all these 16 different Colossi to try to resurrect your girlfriend. I thought each individual Colossus having its own like different way for you to defeat it. I liked that it kind of sometimes you needed your horse to help run around to like keep up with some of their speed. Some of them are pretty speedy. I didn't really like. There was only I think overall I liked more than I didn't like when it comes to the Colossi. I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty of all those different ones, like which ones are my favorite and all that, but I was overall satisfied with the variety that we got as far as the Colossi went. Also, kind of a fan of the kind of when you're just exploring and you see fruit in the trees or like you see a lizard crawling around, it could be like a health upgrade. Like you can just eat it and then upgrade your health. I also really liked the stamina mechanic in this game, where basically it's based on your grip, not so much like getting tired. It's you can only hold on to something for so long until you need to like take a break and let it recharge and all that. I thought that was pretty satisfying to as far as like climbing colossi or parkouring on things like that. I thought that was very fun. Aggro is probably one of the best horses in all of video games. What a great little guy that guy is. Good companion. Its name is Wander. Is that the protagonist's name?
Right? Yeah, he's just called the Wanderer or Wanderer.
Okay. I saw something that just said Wander.
Yeah.
But there was just something about this game that I felt it was kind of overhyped, because I feel like while I liked this game, I don't think, at least in the time that we are now, where we have games as big as like God of War Ragnarok or as big as Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom now, coming back, you're able to appreciate how this kind of was an inspiration for all these games. Elden Ring, like we already said, but you can get how like this, it just feels very bare bones, you know. You can kind of see that this was like the baseline in terms of exploration, how you interact with the world, and because it's all physics based, right? So like everything that you interact with in this world is like physics based. Is that not true? I thought I heard that.
There's not a lot you're interacting with, but
Yeah.
like, I mean, I wouldn't really call it like physics based outside of like being flung off of a Colossus's back or something.
Okay. Maybe I was going too far then. But I just loved seeing the basis of what all of the new open world games would eventually become. And you can totally see like all these other, like when you think back to these other games that I mentioned, drew from Shadow of the Colossus, you can see the influences, like just thinking about them while playing this game. You know, it's like, oh yeah, I recognize this from this game over here, and I recognize this whole scene, this whole sequence where I'm jumping from platform to platform, like back and forth on walls and stuff. I can see where that is in this game, right? Overall, I'd say I enjoyed this game, but is it a must play? I don't know if I think it's that much of a must play. Because, like, I don't know, I like the games that we got from it better than this game, I think. That's kind of where I'm at with it. I can appreciate that this is like one of the classics because, you know, back then we didn't really have that much, at least in terms of like sprawling open world interaction with all these like huge boss characters. Did you guys get jump scared by some of like the death screens? I only had like 3 or so deaths in my playthrough, But there was a death on one of the Colossi that when it happened, I think it was my first death, and that's why it scared me so bad. Like, it was just the face close up, and it jump scared me. I was like, what the fuck?
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Interesting.
actually, yeah.
Nah, I mean, I do think it's like it's very like ominous and like almost like it sort of adds like a scary thriller like tone to it, but I think the rest of the game doesn't really match that, so it's just kind of interesting.
I think on another level where it jump scared me so bad is because like the music kicked in so fast out of just being really quiet. So it was like a combo of sound and like the thing flashing up on my screen at the same time. It just startled me.
Got you. Connor, how did you feel about Shadow of the Colossus?
Well, disclaimer that I neglected to say earlier. I didn't play this game before, but way back in the day when I was younger, probably in elementary school, I watched my brother play this game on PS2. So going into this game, I knew the framework of the story and what would end up happening, but I had completely forgotten what happened with each of the individual colossi. So it was a whole new experience for me to fight those and, get to the meat of the game. Which, at the end of the day, similarly to Phil, I had been expecting this game to be one of the best games, since how people talk about it all the time, but it was overhyped, overrated, I would say. Not in a bad way, in the sense of it minimizes the positives of the game, which are still there. But to play a game that you would think is going to be of the upper echelon of video games to be just a good one was a bit disappointing. But ultimately, at the end of the day, the enormousness of the Colossi and going up against them really makes you understand why that was the case. Back on the PS2, playing and fighting against these massive enemies must have been pretty, unique to the gaming world at that time, and left a large impression on people to get that overrated status, or at least get that hyped up status. But that aside, it was an interesting puzzle game. Usually you wouldn't think of this when you see it to be a puzzle game, but all of it's about climbing up the colossi, getting to the spots where they have the weak points, and stabbing them. And each one provided a pretty unique experience. Sometimes it would be frustrating, particularly off how you would move. For example, sometimes you'd have to be in water, and you would go incredibly slow, and it didn't really amp up the difficulty, more like the annoyance and the slowness of certain colossi, which every now and then the pacing would be off in how you beat these enemies, but really most of it was up to you finding out the secret of how to beat them, since each one has its own little puzzle-solving mechanic that you have to get around to beat the colossi. The landscape of this game, I should say the environment of the game, really lends itself a lot to why it's considered so great. I love games that have long, wide open fields, animals running around, bright blue, well, not really bright blue sky, but a sky up above. I like those kinds of imageries. It's one of the reasons why I really liked Breath of the Wild when I played it back in the day, which once again goes to show you that influence that would go on to inspire many of those other games that we previously talked about. But
not trying to interrupt you, but I think I'm a huge slut when it comes to like ruins, like exploring it, getting to explore old ruins. That's just it does something to my brain. I like it.
You get to do a lot of that because there's a lot of environmental storytelling. Seeing this, supposed ancient civilization having collapsed, the main villain of the game, had a part in it possibly. It's like you said, the plot itself isn't really specific on the details, but it allows you just kind of, almost like when you go to an ancient ruin in today's day and age, and you can kind of inference what happened, what civilization used to sprout here, and really that lends itself to the environment. It's one of the most striking things about this game, in addition to the colossi. The lack of other things to do other than fight the colossi does hamper the game's experience, which is why I just continuously fought colossi, since I saw no incentive to go around the open world, which the most you could really do, from what I could tell, I didn't even know about the lizard upgrades, but you can, get artifacts, collectibles, which if you like that kind of thing, this is probably be a very good game for you, but I'm not really a big fan of that. So that part of the game was kind of lost on me. And it does kind of show, okay, you kind of get tired of fighting the same enemy over and over and over again. Because whereas most other puzzle games rely a lot on just going, like Portal, for example. You're set in a room, and you move around quickly, and it's very just, classic in terms of the puzzle experience. Well, this one's unique, which, like I said, really is good sometimes when you're fighting against those giant colossi, and that scale really impresses you. But for the most part, after that wore off, I would kind of be left, okay, how do I solve this puzzle? And it didn't really stick with me. in any way. It didn't make me feel like, wow, I found this puzzle. It was really just like, oh, I noticed the thing that you could, do to get on the Colossi, and I'm going to, gently climb on him and stab him in his spot, and then it's done. One thing I do like is how when the Colossi die, it kind of has like this very somber tone, and it kind of just makes you feel bad. You're like, oh my god, I didn't, like, he was just walking around. He wasn't doing anything to anybody. I'm in the Forbidden Lands, and he came and I just killed him.
I interrupted this guy's nap.
Yeah, right.
Literally.
Yeah, so that part of the game has like that emotional touch to it, which is what it needs when it has such a lacking of other gameplay mechanics, and it's very straightforward in what it's trying to tell you to do, which is fight these Colossi. Visually, it also looks very great. Obviously, this is a remake, so it looks better than the PS2 version, but even then, it would be just as striking as it was when I played it. But overall, I did enjoy my time with the game. There's very little negative I can say, but it doesn't seem like the positives are really that much to talk about, especially given the hype that is centered around this game. It doesn't really, that hype doesn't do the game itself justice, even though it is a fun game.
For sure.
Yeah, and that kind of brings me to where I'm at. What's interesting about Shadow of the Colossus to me is that they don't make games like this anymore. Like, even the ones that are inspired by it and take great influence by it, your Breath of the Wild or your Elden Rings or even your God of War's new era or old era, the way they take influence of it is in, like, wide breadth, huge environments, and expansive valleys and mountains and plains that you can run through and stuff. And the game's use of negative space. And how, hey, we're going to give you an empty world, but that is going to be what's makes this game special. And games later on, every game after this has just, like, still been a video game. And this game isn't really focused on being a video game. It really is just kind of focused on being an art piece. It is just trying to set a mood, a tone, give you a little bit of just gameplay, work your brain type stuff. But for the most part, it's really just trying to give you an emotional experience from beginning to end. Now, what's funny is that I think the game actually falls short when it chooses to be a video game over the art piece. I'm thinking specifically of, like, the final Colossus or sort of the in-game after you beat the game type stuff you can do, where you can do speed runs and you can unlock new weapons and stuff for you to use against Colossus. And none of that really is interesting to me in sort of the, no pun intended, in the shadow of the emotional statement that the game makes during the playthrough. Honestly, if you never beat the game, I don't blame you, because it's not really a game that wants you to beat it. It's a game that wants you to experience it. I've played this game once before in its entirety, which it was also on this PS4 remake by Bluepoint, which, Connor, you brought up it being a remake and how the environments look great. Great job, Bluepoint, on the environments. The lighting and the ambiance and the smoke and how everything looks and just the texture detail looks fantastic. But, there's still just, like, a focus on giving you the true experience of the game, how it felt, how it plays, all of that, which I really, really, I respect from that perspective. I think this game has an incredible mood throughout its entire thing. It's an incredible atmosphere throughout its entire experience.
Yeah.
I sort of, it's really interesting because if you put your mind back in the PS2 era, you're looking at, early to mid 2000s. This game came out in 2005. So you're looking at Ratchet and Clanks, you're looking at Jak and Daxter's, you're looking at Kingdom Hearts, and you're looking at Metal Gear Solid. And then, like, just random stuff shoved in between. Maybe some World War II war games or something like that. But, like, this is the only one that's just so not focused on being a video game. It's so focused on just trying to elicit a sort of a subtle emotion out of you. Not through gripping dialogue or story or narrative, but just mood and tone and atmosphere. I always say Last of Us Part 2 is gaming's first true tragedy. This game is the closest to that. I think it misses the mark on being an actual tragedy, just in the fact that it leaves you with a sense of hope by the end. Instead of, like, this, like, soul-crushing, oh my god, this sucks feeling, like Last of Us Part 2 does. And I think that's another one of the reasons where it's like it's a shortcoming because it's a video game, is because it's like, oh, well, we're a game. We're probably a lot of children, maybe in their early teens are playing this. So we need to end on a hopeful bit, or else, like that would be depressing for all these kids or whatever. And it would hurt the game. Where I think the game succeeds is all of its like mood and tone that I've already talked about. And it's like, it's strange, like focus of like, hey man, you think you're doing the right thing. And I love how like little dialogue is in the game. You don't know who this girl is. You don't know if it's your sister. You don't know if it's your friend. You don't know if it's your girlfriend, your wife, nothing. Like you have no idea who this girl is, but it's clearly someone that the main character cares about. So you are on board in that journey as well. But what you initially think of as a noble cause is actually like just like this super evil and demonic one. And I think that's super interesting to have that subversion in it. Like even the deity you talk to is clearly a demonic evil deity. But how is he introduced? By panning the camera up, showing a bunch of bright light, and a voice comes through the clouds. That's, in Western culture, a god. That is someone you look up to. So that is someone you praise and you adore. But in reality, it's this evil demon manipulating this young boy into doing his bidding so that he can come back and be evil or whatever. That's super interesting as just a concept for a video game specifically in this era. And I think that's what makes the game the most like, I think that's the most interesting thing to talk about in the game, is just how much it subverts other games, and chooses so hard to just not be a traditional video game. It just doesn't care if you're having fun. It doesn't care if the gameplay loop is engaging. It doesn't care if you're bored by it. It doesn't care if you're engaged in it. It just is, which is commendable and respectable in a lot of ways. But at the end of the day, this is a video game. It is an interactive medium. And though I enjoy all of the atmosphere and the mood and sort of like the artistic integrity behind it and how it makes me feel, and that does carry me a long way, I can't deny that this game is clunky as hell. Like, it does not feel great to move throughout the world. Phil, you were praising the horse, and I like the horse from like a conceptual standpoint, but the way it controls is frustrating. Like, super frustrating. And some of that is intentional. Like, it's supposed to be frustrating to climb up a Colossus. And you're supposed to be like, come on, just hold on, I'm almost there. And then get thrown off. And that feeling is supposed to be there. But when the game is so focused on giving you an atmospheric experience, and you can tell in the wide valleys that they want you to feel a sense of peace. They want you to be thinking about your actions. They want you to, kind of be deep in thought, as the camera pulls back and it's no longer focused on your player character. It's now focused on the huge, wide, beautiful environments. It's now, you're riding through the valley and an eagle or two will swoop down and fly next to you for a little bit, and then fly away or something. Or you'll find, like some barren trees or something, or a place to pray at, or sort of a small lake that you can kind of sit by and collect your thoughts at and something like that. That's all great. But then I have to get on this clunky-ass horse and navigate my way around this rocky-ass bridge or through this narrow passageway and stuff. And I'm just getting frustrated that it's not doing what I want it to do.
So to that end, I had the same problem as you, but then I found out the horse kind of just auto goes on the path that you sent him on. That kind of makes exploring a lot easier.
Yeah, that as well is like when I'm in the big wide areas and so forth, I don't touch the stick. I just I just tap the X button to just go. Or the triangle button, is it? I forget which. Which again,
triangle.
The control scheme of this game is outrageous. It's ridiculous.
I was not into it. Yeah,
it's even different in the remake than it is in the original game. The original game has an even more ridiculous control scheme, but like they tweaked it a little bit in this one to make it feel a little bit better. But it's still man, this is weird, man. And I think it's all just set in how sort of the animations and the mechanics of getting on a horse, jumping from a cliff to a Colossus and holding on type thing. All of the way those mechanics work together, kind of requires a unique control scheme.
Even jumping from horseback onto a Colossus.
Yeah, like it's just the way these mechanics blend together. Like you just can't really put it with a modern era control scheme in mind.
Right.
And like it really is just like frustrating to use the controls, like the clunkiness of putting your sword away, pulling out your bow and arrow, aiming your arrow with the bow and arrow doesn't feel good, swinging your sword doesn't feel good. Now granted, it's not really supposed to, but it's still just like man, like it's stopping me from doing what I want to do. It's a roadblock from experiencing this serenity that the devs want me to experience. And for that, like, I just got to take a couple points off of it. And also, it just not being much of a video game. Like, I thought about it, like, while I was playing it and enjoying it. I was like, man, I wonder what the platinum's like. One of the worst platinum trophy lists I've ever seen. Requires like 6 playthroughs. It's fucking ridiculous. Yeah. And I forgot where I was going with that. But like, just by the time I got to the end of the credits, I was done. I was satisfied. I was fulfilled. It only took me like 3.5 hours, but I walked away thinking, oh, okay, this is what that is. And now I'm gonna go sit and stew on it and think about it, and think about what they were trying to say and how I feel about it and its influence on gaming and so forth. But there's a very real possibility that I'll never play this game again.
Yeah, it doesn't really give you much reason to play more since it's such a streamlined game, which is good when you're first playing it. It didn't have a lot of clutter, so it gave you an experience up front. It said this is what you're doing, and you do it, and then once that's over, you put the game down. If you are particularly acclimated to this kind of game, you want to keep playing it, by all means do it. But it definitely is a game that doesn't really scream replay value. I certainly deleted it off my PS5 the moment I finished it, and I don't think I'll ever come back to it. It's not even one of those games that's, I keep saying the word overrated, but, usually with those kinds of games, you want to go back and visit it every now and then, see what your opinion is of it, and if it changes. But this one, I'm very confident I know, my first take on the game is what I'm going to feel on the game.
See, in Connor, that's how I've technically, like, I've played the PS4 remake when it came out. And that was my first time to completion. But I did play the PlayStation 3 remaster that Bluepoint had also done. And I think they did that one. Someone Google that and make sure I'm correct about that, about the PlayStation 3 remaster, who did that. Because it came in a 2-pack with the Ico and Shadow of the Colossus. On the PS3 Master, I got maybe 7 or 8 Colossus through and then put it down. The PS4 remake, I played it all the way through, and I felt very much how you guys feel, where I'm like, man, this is overrated as hell.
It was Bluepoint.
It was Bluepoint? Okay. And then when I played it again this time, this was the most effective playthrough I had, where I actually really started appreciating all of the like subtle things that they were doing and sort of just how the atmosphere really does expand and build on itself. But it just... It will never rank to me as one of my personal favorite games, but it will always be a memorable game to me. Like, I will not forget my experience with this.
I'm interested to play Ico, the spiritual successor, prequel, something like that.
It's the game before this one. It's the prequel.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know if it's the same characters or whatnot,
well,
but it would be
what's interesting
to play that game and see how they differ.
What's interesting about it is the game is almost like a cycle, right? Because you become the horned boy that is also an Ico or Eco.
Oh yeah. I forget it. Yeah.
So I think it goes in a circle basically, or it can.
There is a lot of ties between this one and Eco, and there's been a lot of debate over many years of like how they tie together and so forth. But I think it's one of those things that there's no like solid like evidence of any of it. Like, it's just a lot of similar imagery and so forth. They tried to do it again with Last Guardian, but I think that, which is the most recent game this team has developed,
like 2016, right?
Something like that. It might have been even a little bit earlier. I want to say maybe a 2015 game. And then, but that one clearly is just a whole different thing, and it just didn't connect with audiences as much as this one did. And so forth. But yeah, I mean, I do like this game. I like this experience. Yeah. I like the emotion of it, but it's just something where I'm just like, man, I don't want to go kill those Colossus again. And maybe that's a testament to, because like Connor kind of mentioned, you feel bad for killing them, because like you know, they like, I had my sister watch me play, because my mom and my sister are really into horses. So, like, my sister is going into school to be an equestrian physical therapist, and so what's funny is I'm playing the game, I'm fully immersed, I'm in this experience or whatever. My mom comes in to see what I'm doing, and she takes one look at the horse and goes, "Oh my God, what is that? How is that horse running that way?" And if you look at it, dude, its back legs are so janky. Like it's like the bend in the knee is too exaggerated, but the way it runs is like, it's like this. Like, there's no actual bend in the leg. It's all in the hip. And so like the hip is just like over, like working it all. Like this horse should be put down because it should not be moving this way. It's in immense pain. And so then like my sister came into town and we showed her it, and she was like, "Oh my God, this is ridiculous." And I was like, guys, I was like totally like oblivious to the horse. Like, I knew it looked a little janky, but in like a PS2 janky animation way.
Sure.
But like now I'm like hyper focused on it, and I'm like this is a remake. This is a 2018 remake. Why did they not fix this? Like, for what purpose did they keep this janky ass animation in there?
Keep the spirit of the original game alive, Tim. We already talked about this.
Yeah, my mom also yelled at me for kicking the horse too much, and I was like, because the horse slows down. She goes, "No, it won't. It's a horse. Once you tell it to go, it's gonna go." And I go, "No, watch. It slows down and it stops." And like, and I gotta keep going. So, oh man. But yeah, like, I really do love how empty this world is, which is so weird because like games like Breath of the Wild bored me, and I think it's because Breath of the Wild is so focused on being a video game, and this one's not. And also the world of Breath of the Wild is so much larger. You know, like let's be honest, it's like what, a minute long horse ride to each Colossus, if that.
Something like that. Even if even that long.
Yeah, like the only time you're like in extended periods of time in between action is just because you get lost. You're like, where am I going? Oh, okay, got it. Like, I think it was the electric lizard one that's in like the Colosseum type thing that you have to get up on the wall. Like, you have to like cross like a specific bridge and go through a cave to get to that one. And I was like, I don't know how to get to this one. So I like ran around the whole mountain and then saw it, and I was like, oh shit, I just have to go through here.
So yeah, I think it only is. So I was saying earlier how surprised I was at how short this game is. I think so. Do you know if the in-game timer stops for cutscenes?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I think it does, because it felt like I was playing the game for longer than just 4 hours and 7 seconds. But that's what my in-game clock was.
Maybe. I mean, there's not a lot of cutscenes going on, though.
But I mean, like, anytime like it goes in the letterbox, like.
Okay, and it's like, hey, your next target is this, that, and the third.
Right.
I don't know. Let me see. I mean, this footage that we're watching is 4 hours and 20 minutes, and that includes the opening cutscene, which does not include your game time. Your game time, because it's before the menu.
Right. Which threw me off.
That was a thing for PS2 games. Is like, you know, don't press any buttons once you put the game in, because you know it was the PS2. Like, games just started. Like, they just went. So, like, you know, you putting the game in and sitting down was your, you know, press play button, essentially. So you just kind of had to sit and wait for the menu, which is interesting. Kind of defeats the purpose of having an intro cutscene, because then you see it a dozen times. But then, like, I guess, like, if you're a kid and you're just mashing X through the thing, you know, eventually, you know, you put the game down, you pick it back up, you put it down, you pick it back, and then you see the intro premise of it all, which is all, you know, fascinating. Did we have any? Go ahead.
I was gonna see if we could go ahead and get into least favorite and favorite Colossi.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Do you want to go ahead and kick it off? Do you have ones in mind? Or?
Sure. I can go favorite right now. The one you mentioned, the lizard in the Colosseum. I liked that guy a lot.
I liked him as well. Yeah. That was. I think that was the first one I died at, because I was not 100% sure what I was supposed to be doing.
Yeah, I figured it out real quick, and then I even got the trophy for one cycling him, not letting him get back up. So.
Oh, really? Interesting. Yep. Yeah. That's cool. I don't think I have that. Connor, do you have a favorite?
I guess the bird.
That's your favorite?
I liked the bird. I liked the
Bird
bird too. The bird has a sense of epicness to it, you know.
I like
yeah,
this
the
guy
most
that's on screen right now too, the warrior or whatever.
Yeah, the super tall one, the tallest one in the game with the sort of sword arm.
Oh, he's not the tallest one in the game.
He's
Tallest one in the
definitely
game,
not.
16.
You're right. You're correct. Now that I'm looking at him, but
Yeah, think
I
about
always
that.
forget about 16 because I hate 16 so much.
It's not good. That one's
Not
not good. It's not my least favorite though. You guys go ahead and get into your favorites, and we'll talk about my least favorite after.
Yeah, so I'm with the bird. I'm with the lizard in the Colosseum one. And I liked this tall one right here. I think those are all kind of classics. One that it's not a particularly good Colossus, like admittedly, but I just kind of like it, is the one that's in the water, but it's like it's like a swamp thing looking water one where you have to get it to like step up on the platforms to then jump on it.
It's got like the teeth in the forehead.
Yeah, the teeth in the forehead thing. Which was like kind of a clunky and tough stuff, or not tough stuff. It was kind of clunky and just like hard to navigate in the like classic clunky way that it is to navigate anything in this game. But I don't know, just that twist kind of like of like mechanics kind of worked with me. Least favorites, I mean, it's a three-way tie for me between the bull, the dog, or 16. Like, did not like any of those. Like, straight up, would rather they were not in the game at all.
The bull being the one where you have to get the fire.
Yeah.
That one's my least favorite. My least favorite too. That one fucking sucks.
Yeah, that one, and then the dog that just like knocks down the pillars the whole time. I'm like,
I liked that one better.
I actually liked that one a lot. I really, because I was like jumping.
I don't know about a lot. I don't know about a lot. I like that one better than the fucking fire one. That one was a piece of shit, and I hated it.
Yeah,
Fine.
and I think it's just because they move so fast and they just beat your ass. Like,
Yeah.
they like straight up just like will not let you get up. Like,
I was gonna say I couldn't even like I tried to dodge roll, and like 50% of the time I was still getting hit.
yeah, that doesn't really work at all.
Another one I hated. I really did. Was I think it's like the fourth one, the underwater electric one.
Oh, the lizard, the sea lizard. I kind of like that one. I didn't hate that one.
My issue with it is, I kind of touched on it a little bit. Anything that involved swimming was very slow and clunky. So when you're in the water and trying to, get his attention, it moves so slow. I miss the tail that comes up so many times.
That's that one to me is a let him come to me one. Like, I'm just gonna swim in the same circle, and then I'm gonna just as soon as he goes up, I'm going up with him because I'm on top of him.
If we're talking about like the earlier ones, like I think it might be number 7 or 6, but it's the like giant with the beard in the kind of underground area.
You didn't like that one, or you did?
No, I do. I do.
Oh,
like
okay,
that one.
okay, yeah. I was
I
gonna
like
say
how you hide in the little crevice, and he goes.
Yeah.
He dives.
Yeah,
down
he like goes to like see. Like, where are you, motherfucker? Yeah. That one to me is, I believe, the first example of actually how good the music is in this game. It's really good because that's the first one that like plays the hero theme and the epic movement because he like lurches back and it's this cool cinematic like thrashing as you're like holding on for dear life.
It is really cool.
Like this small little speck in this giant world.
The one that I was talking about earlier.
Real quick, Jaquise the Epic in the chat, Connor says you have unspoken Riz.
Whoa.
Connor has unspoken Riz. All right.
Unspoken Riz. Yeah.
Anyway, the one that I was talking about that scared the shit out of me, like jump scared me, was the sand snake guy.
Oh, I didn't care for that one.
Yeah, so I died to him because I didn't realize I had to be on aggro the whole time.
Yeah.
So I got killed by him because I crossed in front of one of the rocks, but he just went through it anyway and still got me.
Yeah.
So that killed me, and then it just popped up with like the music sting, and then his face just in the fucking camera. I was like, "What the fuck?"
Whoa! that was one
eyes.
that was one of the ones that I was like, okay, I know I'm supposed to be on the horse, and I know he's like going to run into something, and that gives me the opportunity to get him, but I don't remember how to do it. So like, I spent a cool 5 minutes like trying to like buffalo, like Toro, like trick him into running into one of the pillars or something. And I was like, this isn't working. And then eventually I was like, oh, he'll just follow me for as long as I'm running. So like, and he's got bigger eyes than usual. So like, maybe try shooting an arrow into his, oh, okay, that's how you do it. All right, great.
Yep. It was, it was fairly easy how to figure everything out. The only one that I really had issues with was number 16, and like trying to figure out what exactly I can climb and what all I'm supposed to do.
That's the one that bugs me the most, because that's the most video gamey of all of them, because it's like the heaviest focus on platforming, which sucks. It's the heaviest focus on like timing when you're running through your different environments so you don't get blown up or whatever, which sucks also. And like
he does a red herring move where like if you follow it, it's like not what you're supposed to do or something. Like whenever you're on his left hand, when you like first jump onto it, and then he kind of like keeps turning it around trying to get you off, whatever.
Yeah.
When you get onto his thing, you hit a weak point on his like forearm, and then his other hand comes, but you're not supposed to jump on the other hand.
Is that how that works?
Yeah, because if you jump on that, he's all the way over here, and you have to like try to jump really hard.
Then you got to get to his shoulder or some shit, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So if you stay on the arm, you can then jump from his forearm to like his neck.
Interesting.
And then you can get onto his shoulder that way.
Didn't do that at all. I totally jumped back and then like sort of like finagled my way onto it. And that was the longest thing of him like getting from the first arm to the hand.
Yeah.
Was a like tricky jump to figure out how to do.
It felt like he kept on turning like the same way. I'm like, what does his joint articulate all the way around? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I really don't like that last one, and it kind of leaves a sour taste in my mouth, and it hurts my ability to enjoy what happens in the final cutscene. Which, by the way, when you guys turn into the giant demon thing, did y'all like successfully move around or kill anything in that?
Somewhat.
I found out what to do by the time the guys had already left, so I basically couldn't do a thing. Yeah.
And it's weird because it's like the game has no,
You can't escape anyway.
No, yeah, the game has no alternate ending. So I initially I was like, am I supposed to kill these things? And then like maybe that like releases evil into the world if I kill the shaman character or whatever. And it's just like, no, he just gets away. That's just it. And
runs away, throws your sword into a puddle.
Yeah, and then I like that they're like, fuck it, burn the last bridge, get rid of all of this. Like, we need to cut off all ties from this land. Did y'all ever go back to any of the old Colossus locations?
Yes, and this
I went by a few, and they were just like
that.
Sand piles. Yeah,
they're like, it looks like 1,000 years has passed on them, and it just kind of adds to that level of like sadness in the game where you're like, you were just like going on a casual Sunday stroll, and I came in and fucking stabbed you to death, like slowly. Oh, that sucks.
One last Colossi I just want to bring up because I did enjoy him a lot was 15. The one where it was the guardian of the ancient city, and
with the bridges.
Yes.
I did not like. I don't like how you get up there. It took me fucking forever.
Oh, really?
Fucking forever. And it was one of those ones where I was like, there's several through the game where you have to like manipulate their behavior, and you have to wait for them to. All right, come on, dude, come over here. Yeah. Like the crab one, you have to get him over the geysers so that he knocks himself over or whatever.
He was a turtle, not a crab.
Tomato. He's like a little bit of everything.
Crustacean, one is a reptile.
He's like they're all like little bits of everything or whatever. And then you have to like not like shoot his feet to get him to fall over. And so I like that one, but the one you're talking about, Connor, don't like him at all because he's the most like confusing to me. Like
crabs, turtles, what's the difference?
I mean, come on, guys. Like they're not like defined like this is what that is. Like it's very much like a infer that this is, based off of this type of animal. So, it looked crustacean-y. It's on a beach. It's, It's
on a dried up lake.
It's a guy. Technically.
All right. Anyways. But no, yeah, that last one, Connor, which is funny, that last one, I remember my first playthrough giving me a lot of trouble. And I got to in this new playthrough, I got to him and I was like, okay, this one gave me a lot of trouble. And I had to look it up the first time. I'm not going to look it up this time. How do I fucking do it? And it took me a solid 10 minutes to even realize he had to step on the fucking thing.
Yeah, well, the only weird thing about him was on his hand where his weak point was. I tried to jump on it normally, and I couldn't. I was like, well, I guess that's not the way to do it, because I did it like 4 times. And then I couldn't find any other way to do it. And so I was like, okay, maybe I do just jump on the hand. And then for some reason, kind of adds to the jankiness of the game that I touched on a little bit as well. I just didn't grab onto it properly the other times, and so I just, for some reason, did it. I don't know what I did differently, but I was able to beat him that way. It was just kind of a weird moment that the games sometimes have, depending on just based off how you climb and hold yourself and whatnot.
How do you get him to drop? How do you get him to drop it?
You just there's a weak point on the back of his elbow. that you.
Oh,
that
that's
you
right.
pulled
You got to
down.
stab that.
Yeah.
He drops it that way. Anyways. But yeah, I think that just about covers it, guys. It's just that, hey, it's a janky game, but it's got a statement to make, and we enjoy that statement, even though it doesn't make for the most entertaining video game ever.
This is definitely one of those games where if I had it as a kid, and it's just one of those games where it's like one of the only ones that you have, so you just play the shit out of it.
Yeah, and
So
it just sort
feel
of like
this-
leaves an emotional impact on you, even though like the game around it can get in the way. But like if you were nostalgia blind of it, like you wouldn't even care about those things.
Yep. This if I had it back then, I would be that way for this game.
For sure. So, gentlemen, that just about does it for our main review. So let's go ahead and talk about where this bad boy ranks. I've got to change this thing right here. And this, I think, is what's going to be interesting. Oh, did I not have this in the right mode?
While you're doing that, Tavin, one thing I'm always like with these reviews is I'll come into it with a certain, like, okay, it's going to go here. But then as I talk about it, you kind of change either within yourself when you vocalize things or based off of you guys saying, your own takes on the game. And this is one of those cases where it happened. It's kind of one of the interesting parts of this game club, knowing how it's going to alter after the review.
And see, this is to me the most interesting one to put in this list.
Yeah,
and
I'm not sure how it's going to end up.
I have no idea where this is going to land. I'm pretty sure it's not going to be at the bottom or the top, but where in the middle is it going to land is where I'm thinking of.
I know where I want it, and I know where I'm okay with it being.
I know what game I do not want it to go above. And that's where I'm stopping. And then it's just a matter of like, do I put it below or above other ones? So to start out, the list as it stands right now is number 14, Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze. Number 13, Batman Arkham Asylum. Number 12, Uncharted 1. Number 11, Halo Combat Evolved. Number 10, Resident Evil 4. Number 9, Portal. Number 8, Resident Evil 7, Chrono Trigger. Number 6, Dishonored. Number 5, Portal 2. Number 4, Yakuza 0. Number 3, Hades. Number 2, The Last of Us. And number 1, God of War Ragnarok. Who wants to start the bidding of where they would like to see this one land?
I want Connor to go first.
Fair enough.
Interesting. Let's go. Connor, where are you thinking, my friend?
As I just said a second ago, my opinion sometimes changes during the review, and this is one of those instances where it happened. My original position was going to be at the, I guess, how did these numbers work? How do placements work again? Numbers and things work?
Oh, whichever one you put it underneath is the one.
Yes.
Number 1.
Yes. I know. I know now. I was going to put it before Portal. Because, it's a puzzle game, so I compared it a lot to it, and it has a lot more of a punch to it than Resident Evil 4 does. But so ultimately...
Real quick, so are you saying you wanted it at number 9 originally? Or that you wanted it at number 10?
Number 10.
He would want to bring
down Resident Evil 4.
Okay.
But as I looking back at Resident Evil 4 during our review, I'm like, despite how the aesthetic of this game really speaks to me, and the tone carries the game through it a lot. The gameplay and level design of Resident Evil 4 was so entertaining, and I just had more fun playing it at the end of the day. Both of them don't really have a plot to compare. Resident Evil 4 is more wacky, which in my mind actually kind of makes it better, especially since there's so little plot in Shadow of the Colossus. So for that reason, I'm going to put it at the new number 11. Right
below Resident Evil 4, above Halo Combat.
Above Halo.
Interesting.
I would like to go next now, Tavin.
Yeah, where are you, Phil?
Tavin, I'm putting Shadow of the Colossus at the new number 12.
Wow, underneath... Dang. Oh, no, above Uncharted 1, but below Halo.
Correct.
Interesting. Okay. Expound on that. Why there?
Just because I kind of was thinking to myself, like, what would I be okay that's so good to me and in my like gaming repertoire? What would be so good that I would be down to just like after putting this game down, what would I be willing to play again? And I can see myself wanting to play like if I was like, yeah, I could load up some Halo right now. I could do that, but I don't feel as much of an urge to load up Uncharted 1 again. For that matter, I don't know about ever again. maybe Arkham Asylum I would play again just to like get the platinum for, but then never again. I would be okay with that. And then like Tropical Freeze, I think I've already played more of that game than I will again. So for that reason, that's why like I do have like the thought in my mind, hey, I would like to platinum Shadow of the Colossus. It'd be a cool platinum to have, you know.
It would. It really would.
So yeah. So that's where I would also I would fucking love if Halo was on PlayStation, so I can get fucking trophies for that and platinum all of those. But for that reason, that is why Shadow of the Colossus is at my new number 12.
Respectable.
Interesting. Okay. All right. Well, I'm in the same realm as you, gentlemen. And for me, it's just really fucking hard. To me, the absolute cap is this is not going above the first Resident Evil. Like I absolutely refuse to, because I think Resident Evil says just as much artistically. I think it does just as much sort of emotionally in how it makes the player feel in its negative space without using dialogue or any of that. But Resident Evil to me is arguably infinitely replayable. It's more engaging, and it's got crazy, incredible level design. So like absolutely not going above Resident Evil. And then to me, yeah, it's going above Uncharted 1 for sure. To me, it's like, all right, how do I feel about Portal, Resident Evil 4, and Halo Combat Evolved, and where does Shadow land in there? And that's where it gets hard, because I'm like, I don't know, man, wherever you fucking want it. Because though I think mechanically it's way less interesting than Halo and Resident Evil 4, and even Portal. But artistically, I have so much more respect for it than all three of these games, honestly. And so like now it's just a level of balance and what day you catch me on where these land. And right now, my greatest debate, and I believe it's the one that is actually gonna cement where it places, is whether or not it goes above or below Resident Evil 4. And today, right? Because Connor, you wanted to put it above Resident Evil 4.
No, Halo. I wanted to put it above Halo before Resident Evil 4.
Okay. I see.
He wants it at 11. I wanted it at 12.
You wanted it at 12. Okay. Well, okay. Then that does the thinking for me, and I guess then I'll go below Resident Evil 4 because Resident Evil 4 is a little more replayable. I could see the itch of me randomly one day wanting to reload up that game, even with the RE4 remake out. I just see those as kind of two separate games. Like there is a world in which I do load up the OG Resident Evil 4 again. And Shadow, I don't know if I ever will, but I'm sure 5, 6, 7 years will go by and I'll be like, let me go re-experience Shadow of the Colossus again. So I'm gonna agree with Connor there, and I'm gonna put it at the new number 11 above Halo, below Resident Evil 4.
And Tavin, let me just say, I still am fine with that because that is what I mentioned I would be okay with.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is a space I would be okay with that.
Halo also just feels like so like duct taped together. Like
it can sometimes, yeah.
So it's just like,
I get what you mean.
Whereas this is clearly the experience they want you to have. Like they did what they wanted to do, and we're playing it. Whereas like Halo, it's like I can see where you're going, but you're not quite there.
Just wait till Halo 2, guys.
Wait for Halo 2, indeed. So there we go. The new list is as follows. Number 15, Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze. Number 14, Batman Arkham Asylum. Number 13, Uncharted 1. Number 12, Halo Combat Evolved. Number 11, Shadow of the Colossus. Number 10, Resident Evil 4. Number 9, Portal. Number 8, Resident Evil. Number 7, Chrono Trigger. Number 6, Dishonored. Number 5, Portal 2. Number 4, a very highly placed Yakuza 0. Number 3, Hades. Number 2, The Last of Us. Number 1,
deservedly,
God of War Ragnarok.
Sam, are you salty about that? Are you salty about that position?
I'm not salty. It's just I just think Portal 2 is just such a better game than Yakuza, but that's fine.
You have large scale beat 'em ups in Portal 2?
No, but I mean it's this thing that we've talked about before, where it's like there's already clearly very much tiers forming within this list of like S tier, A tier. I don't think there's anything below a B. I think I've said it in this list. And to me, Yakuza 0 is the top of the A tier, and Portal 2 is S tier standard.
Well, not on this list.
Not on this list. Here we go. So, gentlemen, it's time to find out what we're playing again next month. So, last month we took out The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. We took out, as always, ladies and gentlemen, if you're new to the show, we let a giant spinner wheel of a collection of currently 96 titles are on this list, randomly pick the game for us.
So many.
It's so many games. Every time, and it stayed at this number for so long because we keep adding shit as we're taking them away. We each have an opportunity to eliminate a game from selection for the month, but next month it needs to stay in rotation. So, Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild is in rotation this month no matter what. Alien Isolation and Death Stranding. All three of those games have to be in the rotation this month. And now we take 3 new games out if we choose to. Maybe we're just like, you know what, fuck it. Whatever happens, happens. I am not in the mood to stretch my sort of modern day gaming conventions out too much right now. I'm just not in the mood to play something really old. You know, not in that mood. Sometimes you are, sometimes you're not. Sometimes you're indifferent. Today, I'm going to pull out Final Fantasy VI.
Tavin, I was going to be so upset if you were going to click Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. Like, what are you talking about?
Connor, I have no idea how that game plays. I don't even know what type of game that is. Like,
it's, by the way, I have a suggestion. Can I take my my game that I want to take out? I'll do that first, just because I'm going to be playing a lot of Baldur's Gate 3 this month, and I don't really want too many heavy RPG experiences. I'm going to vote to take out Disco Elysium.
Disco Elysium. Excellent.
Yes.
I'm going to find that in the list somewhere here, and then I'm going to take it out. There we go. And then you were going to suggest something, sir?
Can we add, because I just mentioned it, and I was like, it's not on here. Halo 2. Can we add that to
Is it not in here?
Is that possible? I didn't see it.
You should have replaced it whenever we took the original Halo out.
I should have, but like the save system gets weird in this game. So hold on.
Yeah.
I'll find Disco Elysium. There it is, right there. Boom.
Yes.
Out the list this month. And then I'll look around for it's not that low. I thought it was in here, but maybe it's not in here, so I'll make sure it's in there. It won't be in the Discord chat, Connor, because I update the site as opposed to updating the you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Of course. That's why I thought was the best way to do it anyway.
You know what? You might be right. I don't see Halo 2 in here.
Yes, it's not. It's an easy game to play. It's always
true.
Make it easy month for whatever game we play in the Halo franchise.
Now 97 titles. Phil, what are you taking out this month?
I am taking out Jedi Fallen Order.
Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Someone started his Jedi Survivor playthrough.
I did.
Yeah. So he doesn't want to double dip, much like me last month with Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom.
Well, you're still playing Tears, so.
Jedi Fallen Order. Here we go. All right, gentlemen. It's time. Time for the spin.
Spin it.
God, something. I mean, we can go like a little big, but hopefully not crazy big. But, you know.
I don't think I want crazy big either.
Yeah. It's always exhausting whenever a crazy big game comes into this list. It's always just exhausting. And we have, oh shit, Prey.
Now, Prey as in the very first game?
I think the remake from...
I put not the remake, but the reboot from Arcane.
Yeah, reboot. Yeah, that's what I meant.
Okay.
Is what that is. So,
Spooky.
Arcane's Prey is now our game for next month that we will be reviewing at the beginning of September. We're going to play throughout August, and I'm very excited. Dishonored, the last Arcane game we played. So, hopefully, is Dishonored 2 in here? It is. Great. Fantastic. So, hopefully, we will feel just as highly about Prey as we do about Dishonored. Ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be it for your 2-penny Game Club review of Shadow of the Colossus. Let us know how you felt about Shadow of the Colossus down in the comments below. Did we rank it too high? Did we rank it too low? Where would you personally like to see it? And how is your list looking so far? Throw down any suggestive titles that you want to see in the Game Club list. And until next time, have a great time. Gentlemen, say goodbye to the people.
Bye. Have a great time.
See ya.